What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Wednesday, July 3rd, 2024, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 14:51 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from the Middle East, Europe, and Asia. So I want to read to you some information that I received from somebody inside of the U.S. Army who has access to intelligence briefings, and I can't reveal this person's name or specifically what unit they're in, but this is somebody in the U.S. Army, and they have been receiving classified briefings recently on all the different theaters of war around the world. So I want to read to you what he sent to me this morning. He said, U.S. intelligence believes that Israel will begin the war in Lebanon within the next 48 to 72 hours. Contacts within the Israeli military ranks suggest that the final preparations are in place for the beginning of the operational phase to begin, with Phase 1 being a massive combined aerial and artillery shock and awe attack taking place during the night. Phase 2 will be land operations and tunnel network destruction. Phase 3 will be to completely remove Hezbollah from the territory of Lebanon and bringing in security forces for the cleanup operation. And so essentially the Israeli war plan is as follows. First the Gaza war, then Hezbollah, and then ultimately a killing blow to Iran. Okay, so that's what the Israelis are planning to do. And he also said that U.S. military bases in Europe still maintain a high readiness and security, as it is believed that an attack from Iranian sleeper cell agents is imminent within the near future, possibly expected to happen on July 4th. And he also said that members of the U.S. National Guard are being told to avoid traveling in uniform at all costs. It is believed that an attack on the homeland on July 4th is very possible, but not considered imminent at this time. And he also said that China will stop shipping ammunition components to the U.S. to protest the U.S. policy of supporting Taiwan. And as a result, we could see a reduction in availability of civilian ammunition and reloading components in the United States in the near term, especially if a war breaks out, which, by the way, this same source said that late 2024, early 2025 is the time frame that U.S. intelligence gives for China to attack Taiwan. Now, yesterday I had some major breaking news. Russia has now threatened Israel over Israel sending 8 Patriot batteries to Ukraine. Okay, the Russian permanent representative to the UN, Vasily Nebenzia, said Israel must be ready to face the consequences if it moves forward with reported plans to supply Ukraine with U.S.-made air defense systems. Okay, so could this be the hook in the jaw of Gog from the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38 and 39? Okay, this is the part of the Bible that talks about Russia attacking Israel with an alliance of Middle Eastern countries. Just going to read to you a few passages here. The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, set your face against Gog of the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. Prophesy against him and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says, I am against you, Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. I will turn you around, put hooks in your jaws, and bring you out with your whole army, your horses, your horsemen fully armed, and a great horde with large and small shields, all of them brandishing their swords. Persia, Cush, and Put will be with them, all with shields and helmets. Also Gomer with all its troops, and Beth Togarmah from the far north with all its troops, the many nations with you. Okay, so here it says Persia, Cush, and Put, Gomer, and Beth Togarmah. So these are Middle Eastern countries like Libya, Iran, Northern Africa, and some people believe potentially Turkey. Okay, and they're all going to form an alliance with Russia and try to attack Israel. But specifically here, the Bible says, I will turn you around, put hooks in your jaws, and bring you out with your whole army. Okay, so God is going to pull the leader of Russia down into the Middle East and draw him into a war in the Middle East so he could destroy the leader of Russia. Okay, that's what the Bible says, Book of Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39. And could this be the hook in the jaw of Gog, of Vladimir Putin? God is now trying to lure Putin down into the Middle East potentially, okay, so he can be destroyed. And Russian warships have arrived in Venezuela, a small detachment of the Russian Navy's Northern Fleet, including the nuclear submarine Kazan and the frigate Admiral Gorshkov, entered the port of La Guaira this Tuesday during its operations in the Atlantic. The group also includes the supply tanker Akademik Pashin and the rescue tug Nikolai Chaiker. Okay, so Russian warships have now arrived in Venezuela, part of the Russian Northern Fleet. And this update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply is doing a discount on their 1-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewithnyprepper.com, and the link is in the description below this video. This is a 1-month freeze-dried food supply. It has a 25-year shelf life. Normal price is $237. They've dropped it down to $177. So that's a savings of $60. And it's all packed within 2 rugged, water-resistant buckets. Free shipping is included. $177 for 1 month of food. Where are you going to find a deal like that? They also have a general store, and they're always running discounts in their general store on various prepping and survival items. They have everything from MREs, potassium iodide, to survival seeds. And to get to their general store, you got to click on the My Patriot Supply logo at the top of the page when you get to preparewithnyprepper.com. And you'll see when you get there, they have everything you can imagine. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get $60 off the My Patriot Supply 1-month emergency food supply. That's $180 for 1 month of food, free shipping included. The link is in the description below this video. And also check out their general store. They have everything you can imagine prepping and survival related, and they're always running various discounts there. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu gave his approval to the security establishment and the army a few days ago to assassinate a senior Hezbollah official. And apparently this morning, a high-ranking commander of a Hezbollah unit at the level of general has been eliminated in Lebanon. And as a result, Hezbollah today fired hundreds of rockets into northern Israel. Okay, so Israel assassinated a general in Hezbollah, and Netanyahu gave an approval to assassinate a senior Hezbollah official a few days ago. And Putin is currently meeting with the new president of Iran and the Turkish president in Astana, Turkey. Very interesting timing that they would be meeting now, right before Israel's invasion of Lebanon. And Putin said today at the meeting in Turkey that Russia and China do not create any blocs or alliances and work for the benefit of their people. Wow, he is really mentally ill, I believe. And Afghani and Iranian fighters have arrived in Syria to join up with Hezbollah for a war against Israel. This is being reported by I-24 News, citing a local source. Okay, so Iranian soldiers and the Taliban have arrived. The IRGC probably and the Taliban have already arrived in Syria. There will be disastrous consequences if the war in the Middle East spreads to Lebanon, Foreign Minister of Cyprus Konstantinos Kambos said on Tuesday. He said the situation in the region is worsening, but that the government is making preparations for every eventuality. The Republic of Cyprus, in this context, is preparing for such an eventuality for the evacuation of third country nationals from Lebanon, he said, adding that the number of those who could potentially need to be evacuated could exceed 100,000. 100,000 people. Additionally, he said that citizens of both Lebanon and Israel may also need to be evacuated to or through Cyprus, and that there is also the risk of increased flows of refugees to the island given the large number of Syrian nationals who live in Lebanon. Under such a set of circumstances, the evacuations would be made under the government's Estia action plan, which was last activated in October to facilitate the arrival and onward repatriation of third country nationals from Israel. He also made reference to the threats made by Hezbollah against Cyprus last month, denying the claims that Cyprus is party to the conflict. So Cyprus is preparing to evacuate 100,000 people, guys, and they're basically preparing to become a hub for this war, okay, for American forces, Israeli forces to use Cyprus to launch attacks on Hezbollah, and also for Israelis and other people to be evacuated out of the region into Cyprus or through Cyprus, okay? So this is very, very serious. And we know that the U.S. military has already positioned multiple warships off the coast of Lebanon to assist in evacuation and also to assist in combat operations. And Pentagon Press Secretary Pat Ryder said that the Pentagon finds it acceptable to use American weapons in strikes on Crimea. And Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko threatened Ukraine again yesterday in a speech. He said that Belarus's response to any escalation from Ukraine on the border with Belarus would be tough and fast, okay? And we've heard already nuclear threats from Lukashenko and his military. They said that their nukes are on high alert and they're ready to deploy at any time. And there have been suspected attacks on critical infrastructure of water companies in Finland the past few days. And this is interesting because Finland recently signed an agreement with the U.S. to allow the U.S. military to access all Finnish bases, about 15 of them. And now all of a sudden they're being attacked. And what you're looking at here is the path of 5 Boeing P-8 Poseidons that took off from the Seattle region, and they're heading out into the Pacific. These are sub-Hunter planes used to detect submarines, 5 of them all leaving at the same time from the Seattle area. Okay, look at that, guys. That is extremely unusual, and they're heading down towards the Pacific. Very, very concerning. We also currently have 2 nuclear war command and control planes in the air right now. We have one over the Gulf of Mexico. We have one that went down towards Oklahoma and turned its transponder off, which is extremely rare, especially when they're flying over the continental U.S. So something is going on here. Wanted to update you on Hurricane Beryl. It is currently just south of Jamaica. Thank God that the eye of the storm is not going to make a landfall on Jamaica directly. It's going to graze Jamaica, especially the southern coast of Jamaica is going to be grazed by the storm. So it looks like Jamaica may have dodged a bullet on this one. Okay, but current maximum sustained winds are at 140 miles per hour. And the current minimum pressure is at 959 millibars. And so the storm is weakening. But what's very concerning is that this storm could potentially hit Texas. Okay, so they have it going over the Yucatan Peninsula and then weakening down into a tropical storm once it gets into the Bay of Campeche, and then re-strengthening once it gets into the Western Gulf, and then possibly hitting eastern Texas, Corpus Christi area. Okay, so we have to keep an eye on this thing. We could potentially be dealing with a landfalling hurricane in Texas. This would be the first hurricane to make landfall of the 2024 hurricane season, and this storm has already set several records. It's the earliest forming Category 5 hurricane ever in the Atlantic Basin since records have been kept. The strongest hurricane for the month of July and the strongest hurricane for the month of June. This thing topped sustained winds at 165 miles per hour at one point. And here's the latest satellite loop. You can see the storm here just grazing Jamaica right now. Okay, heading south of Jamaica. Very, very close. But it doesn't look like it's going to make a direct landfall. It looks like it's just going to graze the southern coastline of Jamaica. There's still going to be massive impacts here. Okay, but it looks like they probably are going to be dodging a bullet. You can see the eye right there. Okay, super close. They're definitely going to be pounded with rain and big waves and storm surge, but at least they won't get the full impacts of it. So that's some good news. And NATO allies have agreed to fund military aid for Ukraine with 40 billion euros next year, a Western European diplomat told Reuters today. So 40 billion euros is what Ukraine is going to receive potentially starting next year. Okay, that is huge. And Ukrainian forces have successfully struck a Russian facility in Kursk, housing the 16th Separate Electronic Warfare Brigade and the 375th Central Aviation Technical Base. So the Ukrainians launched a deep strike in Russia, in Kursk, destroying some kind of electronic warfare brigade and a Central Aviation Technical Base. Very interesting. And I just wonder if they used American weapons to do that or not. Most likely they did. And there were some kabooms reported in Sevastopol in Crimea earlier this morning. And the U.S. Department of Defense has awarded Lockheed Martin a $250 million contract for the procurement of ATACMS missiles for several countries, including Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, and Morocco. And Ukraine imported the same amount of electricity in June as in all of 2023. Ukraine imported over 858,000 megawatt hours of electricity in June of 2024, which is 91% more than the volume imported in May and more than what was imported in the whole of 2023, according to X-Pro electricity monitoring data. Okay, so this is a bad sign, guys. Ukraine is in for a very, very hard winter this year because Russia has been attacking their power grid all year. And Russian troops attacked the city of Kharkiv with guided aerial bombs today, injuring at least 14 people, including 2 children. And Donald Trump's controversial Ukraine peace plan and an alleged deal with Russia to block Ukraine's accession to NATO is just rhetoric for the U.S. presidential election, and reality will be very different, a senior Ukrainian lawmaker told the Kyiv Independent today. And that's what I've been telling you guys, okay? Trump is just saying a lot of these things to get elected, okay? He's not going to abandon Ukraine because Ukraine gives him leverage against Putin. If he just gives Putin everything he wants, then he has zero leverage anymore, right? But now he still has Ukraine that he can use as sort of a bargaining chip with Russia, okay? So he's not going to just give away Ukraine like everybody thinks. And Donald Trump's sentencing has now been postponed until September 18th in the wake of the Supreme Court immunity ruling. And Biden has told a key ally that he knows he may not be able to salvage his candidacy if he cannot convince the public in the coming days that he is up for the job after a disastrous debate performance last week, according to the New York Times. And Obama has privately voiced concerns to Biden about his election, and dozens of Democrat lawmakers are considering to sign a letter calling on Biden to withdraw from the race. And Biden on Tuesday said relentless international travel was to blame for his disastrous debate performance last week, adding, It's not an excuse, but an explanation. Biden said he wasn't very smart for traveling around the world a couple of times shortly before the debate. I didn't listen to my staff, and then I almost fell asleep on stage. And China is sending an 8-ship carrier strike group to the South China Sea. Apparently, the aircraft carrier Shandong, 2 Type 55 destroyers, 2 Type 52 destroyers, a Type 54A frigate, a landing helicopter dock ship Type 75, and a Type 901 resupply ship were spotted near the Paracel Islands recently. And Chinese companies are allegedly developing attack drones similar to the Iranian Shahed drones used by Russia in the Ukraine war. This was being reported by Bloomberg, citing European officials. So China going to be building a copy of the Iranian Shahed drone. And the Pentagon announced a $10 billion multi-year plan to modernize tactical aircraft based in Japan to bolster regional deterrence. They're going to be replacing 48 F-15 Block C and Block Ds at Kadena Air Base with 36 F-15EXs, and they're going to be replacing 36 F-16s at Misawa Air Base with 48 F-35s. Wow, that's a huge upgrade, going from 36 F-16s to 48 F-35 stealth fighters. Okay, that is a huge upgrade. And remember, guys, the F-35s are now nuclear capable and they're stealthy, so each one of those F-35s can carry nuclear gravity bombs such as the B-61, which has a blast yield of half a megaton, guys. So those F-35s could be used to completely annihilate North Korea if necessary. And American Special Forces have been training in Mexico. A delegation of 220 U.S. military personnel were in Juarez as part of the Fuerzas Amigas 2024 annual binational disaster training exercise from June 23rd to the 29th, according to a Mexican Senate newsletter. There will also be 180 paratroopers from the U.S. Army's 82nd Airborne Division traveling on a C-130 Hercules to take part in a specialized joint training exercise on July 15th to August 3rd at the Mexican military's National Training Center in Santa Gertrudis, Chihuahua, located nearly 100 miles south of Chihuahua City. And Jamaica announced an island-wide curfew today due to Hurricane Beryl. So that's some of the latest breaking news that I have. I might be back later on tonight with more breaking news, but it will be probably a lot later because I do have some family obligations this coming weekend, the next few days. As you guys may know, tomorrow is Independence Day here in America, so I will be celebrating with family over the next few days. So I'm going to try to do at least one update per day, but I won't be able to do my usual live updates at night. But I'll try to keep doing the video updates, and I might potentially set up some unattended live streams or partially attended live streams just so you guys can track the EAMs and flight radars and live cams. But otherwise, I'm not going to be doing my usual nightly live updates, okay? But I will try to put out video updates. So if you don't hear from me for a little while, everything is okay. It's just that I'm busy. I do have family obligations the next couple of days. But that's pretty much it, guys. Hopefully I'll be able to put out another update later. And until then, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere. Culinary out.